Now. All right. Again, thank you everyone for joining us on this webinar today, our virtual lunch and learn business branding 101 on behalf of all of us here at the Startup Junkie Foundation. We really appreciate you all for having registered for this event and taking the time to join us here during your lunch hour. My name is Caleb Talley, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Events here at Startup Junkie. For those of you who are not familiar with Startup Junkie, we are a mission-driven organization located right here on the Fayetteville Square that exists to empower innovators and entrepreneurs. Whether you have an idea written on the back of a napkin or an established startup or small business, we're here to serve you, and we do that largely in two ways. Through one-on-one consulting with our business consultants and through events like this one here. And we also have a partner in Conway, the conductor, that does the same thing in Central Arkansas for those of you who are watching from Central Arkansas or elsewhere in the state. Today, we're excited to be joined by Elizabeth Prenger. Elizabeth is the founder and chief content officer of Prose Creative. Before becoming a small business owner, she developed her love of writing and communicating over a decade of trials, tribulations, and highly entertaining stories. Most recently, she led strategic communications and fundraising efforts for a number of nonprofits in Northwest Arkansas. Before that, she was a political operative and policy advocate in DC, Arkansas, and other areas of the country, which is where those stories are probably come into play. In January of this year, she made the decision to leave the traditional work environment and set out to help companies, brands, and individuals connect with their audiences by creating authentic relationships through content and messaging. And Prose Creative was born. She describes her writing as inviting, thoughtful, and authentic. Elizabeth, we're excited to learn from you today. I will give you the floor.
Thank you. Well, I have one less slide to share with you today because Caleb did a wonderful job in introing me. So thank you for that, Caleb. And let's see, am I officially shared? Is that good? Great. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. This is, like Caleb mentioned, I'm a storyteller, and there's no story that I can tell more authentically than my own. So as I was building this business, I decided to kind of keep track of some of the things that I learned that have worked well when it related to my business branding and things that did not work quite so well. My journey toward entrepreneurship wasn't perfect, but I wouldn't change a thing about it because I learned so much about myself and about my value. And my hope is that the exercises that we will be sharing today will help support your journey as you develop your business brand and your brand messaging. And remember, this is your brand and your voice. And it'll probably evolve over time as your skill set shifts and your business is evolving. But I think that's a really good thing. And just to share with you a reminder of what our agenda is today, I've designed this to be a very interactive discussion. You should have received a branding worksheet beforehand, and it'll kind of follow along with some of the activities that we will do today. There's space on this for you to think through and complete the various activities that will hopefully help you organize your thoughts and ideas around your brand's business. Your business's brand. And keep in mind, business branding is never set in stone. So it's a topic that you should revisit periodically, no matter what stage your business is in. And I also wanted to mention, I have another version of this presentation on personal branding that I've gotten some really good feedback on. Personal branding is great for anyone, whether you're a business owner, a new entrepreneur, or looking to jump into a new profession, which a lot of people are doing right now in the pandemic. And it's a great way to get more comfortable with networking and marketing yourself along with your business, which is something that we should all be doing every day. And if you'd like access to that presentation, just shoot me a note and I'd love to share it with you later. So Caleb already introduced me, a fantastic job, thank you. But my name's Elizabeth Prenger. I'm the founder and chief content officer for Prose Creative. And I've spent the past 10 years working in the nonprofit space and the political spectrum as well. And so I've spent a lot of time in my past talking with various people, listening to people, and really trying to find messages that resonate with them, whether it's to encourage them to donate money with my nonprofits or to volunteer, or to get them to vote or to vote for a particular person. I needed all of my listeners or people that I was engaging with to take some sort of action. And as Caleb mentioned, in January of this year, I made the decision to start my own business because I'm crazy. And I wanted to pursue my passion and talent for writing. So I set out to help companies, brands, and individuals connect with people and their consumers by creating authentic relationships through their content and messaging. And Prose Creative was born. And I wanted to say, give a special thank you to Startup Junkie for all of the resources that you shared with me as I started out on my journey. I just received so many great resources and the confidence to move forward with all of these crazy ideas in my head. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I realized as I was beginning my business, I needed to spend some time figuring out what my brand was, which is kind of important. So that led me to some soul searching and having really honest conversations with myself, and then also reaching out to other people who know me well and ask for their honest feedback on what makes my business stand out and what makes me different from all the other incredibly talented people in our community and in this field of writing. And I needed this information to really build out the best marketing plan for my business and my services. And for me, that process was pretty intimidating. I'm a confident person, even though public speaking is not my favorite thing. So I'm getting a little flustered, but I'll get more into the flow here in a minute. So even though I'm a confident person, it was really challenging for me to approach myself and to approach others in a very vulnerable manner. So in order to mitigate a little bit of that uncomfortable feeling for all of you, I'm sharing some of my tips for building your business brand and how to use your messaging on various digital platforms, social platforms, marketing pieces, traditional marketing, in-person conversations, basically anything that you'll be using your name and your business name for. And before we get into the activities, I wanted to share this quote because I really see it as the foundation of how I see brands. Your brand should feel like something consumers can have a relationship with. Consumers, I probably always, but especially right now, in the middle of this global pandemic, they really want to connect with brands, with businesses. They want to trust you. They want to know that you're a real person and to see your authentic side. They want to trust that you're going to deliver something that can really help them and can improve their lives. And so the connection that they're looking for with your business is really important to think about. And before we get started, I'm going to tell you something that's probably going to sound a little hokey, kind of silly, but I find it very, very important. The first person that you have to convince on how amazing your brand is you. And if you have a team around you, they also have to believe it 100%, totally and fully. And you all need to believe how much value your products and your services that you're providing to your consumers and to your community. In my case, I want companies and brands and potential clients to believe that I'm a great writer. So I tell myself every day, I'm a great writer. So today we'll determine what you're most proud of about your brand, and then we can identify the ways that we can let the rest of the world know about it. And you'll create relationships with existing customers, potential clients, business investors, whoever your target audience is, and you'll do this through your brand messaging. So this is a picture that I used in my personal branding presentation, and I'm just kind of obsessed with this little girl. I'm sure she reminds herself every single day of how amazing she is and how wonderful she is, and I bet she wants you to do the same about your brand. So remind yourself, celebrate your brand every single day. And if you're ready to embark on this journey with me, I promise to be authentic and transparent, and hopefully you'll walk away with some great steps for building up and sharing your business brand. So your brand should feel very powerful and so authentic to your business's mission and purpose that you'll want to shout it from the rooftops. And as business people, we're probably a little too analytical, overly analytical sometimes, and we don't always appear as confident, or we don't feel as confident as we appear. And how many times do you think, I need to get out of my own head. I'm making things way too complicated. I know I do that a lot. But today we're going to kind of take an opposite approach to that. We're actually going to jump into our heads and visit with our psyche to see what we can dig out in order to serve our branding needs. So to get us into the right mindset, we're going to start with some positive affirmations for your brand. So what makes your brand great? What are you most proud of? And I'll give you some examples to kind of start getting into that mindset. Prose Creative provides people with great writing. I know how to engage with people through the written word. I can take a complex idea or process or product and communicate that service or product to consumers in a way they can understand and that they can relate to. So what I can do through my writing is very valuable to businesses. Prose is highly dependable. My clients know that I will get high quality work done in the time frame that they need and usually ahead of schedule. I'm really good at staying in touch with clients and checking in and making sure deadlines are met and offering additional services as they need them. And they know we will have an enjoyable working relationship. Prose is innovative. I'm not afraid to take risks with my writing and messaging. And while a lot of businesses are uncomfortable with change or being vulnerable, I'm very good at that. And I can help them shift into a mindset that change is good and evolution is a smart tactic for their messaging. So I'm giving these compliments to my brand. I'm a great writer, I'm a dependable partner, I'm an innovative big thinker, and I'm constantly creating these messaging around these concepts for my brand on all the various social channels that I'm on. So wherever I'm posting, wherever I'm communicating with my audience, these are the brand impressions that I'm giving to the public. I'm posting inspirational quotes. I'm sending positive vibes out to people. I'm posting very emotionally rich content because that's how I want people to see me and that's authentic to me and my business. As a writer and a copywriter, I want people to be able to access my online profiles and say, oh, I want to work with Prose Creative because it looks really innovative and seems like they can connect with people through writing and maybe they can help me sell my products and my services. So we'll jump into activity number 1. So get the worksheet that Caleb sent the link out to and kind of follow along with this. A friend of mine and a fellow female entrepreneur, Melina Urso, who a lot of you may know, she's wonderful. She sent me some information not too long ago on a Japanese concept called Ikigai, and that means a reason for being. And it's the balance between your spiritual and practical beliefs, and it's what makes your life whole. You can see that the diagram has 4 cross sections. What you love, this is what you're passionate about in life. What you're good at, something you have extensive knowledge and experience in. What the world needs, what people are looking for you to provide answers or solutions to, and what can you be paid for, what people will pay you to answer or solve. So thinking about these questions from the perspective of your business can really help you determine your brand's reason for being. And so I invite you to access your branding worksheet and start using the Ikigai chart here to answer these 4 important questions. What does your business love? What is your business good at? What does the world need from your business? And what can you turn a profit from? Which is very important as well. So go ahead and start, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to kind of think on this and write them down. And as you're writing them down, don't forget to believe them. And reminding yourself every day of this, which is something that we'll talk about here in just a minute, but really looking at it and living it out every single day. And once this starts getting ingrained into your mind, it's going to be really easy to market yourself in a very seamless way. So are you really good at analyzing numbers? Is that the biggest benefit that your business can offer to the communities? It's very important. Are you a strong strategist? Do you want to help businesses get to the next level with growth? Do you make the world's most compelling graphics? Are you the most creative person in the entire world? And thinking about all of these assets that you give to the community can really help tailor, hone in on what your brand messaging should include. So if you're open to this, I know that wasn't very long to do an activity that's highly important, but just because we don't have too much time to spend together today, if you're open to it, if you would share some of your Ikigai findings in the chat group, and we can kind of celebrate those together and take a look at it together. It may help inspire some people that are kind of struggling to come up with some of their reasons for being. Okay, so again, we don't have nearly enough time to spend together on this topic, but for the sake of time, let's move on to the second part of activity 1. And again, please come back to this when you have a bit more time to really flush through it and be very intentional about what you're putting down about your business and your brand. So let's assume you have a good start on your Ikigai or your reason for being. You can apply those to a statement that your brand can live by every single day. So on your branding worksheet, there should be an area that allows you to start crafting a mission statement for your brand. And coming from the nonprofit world, your mission statement is everything. It goes on every fundraising document, it goes on every piece of mail, it goes on every social platform. Your mission is everything. And so your brand's mission statement is just as important. So for me, well, here, I have an example. I have an example from my own personal mission statement and my brand mission statement. Through writing and content, prose inspires people to take action. So I want to inspire people through my writing and content. And it's not long and it's not fancy, but it's authentic to my brand. And so far, it's going well. And this will be a fluid sentence. It'll change every few years as your business and your brand develop and evolve. So again, this is a really hard exercise. So don't worry if you haven't completed your mission statement or if you're still at question number 1 on the Ikigai chart. You go at your pace, but please set aside some time later today or over the weekend to really think through this. And then when you get to a place where you're really happy with your brand mission, I want you to write it down and look at it every day. So think of some place either in your home or at your office, or it can be in your car, a place that you look at every single day, maybe multiple times a day. Maybe it's the mirror in your bathroom. Maybe it's you can make a poster and stick it up on your office wall. You can crochet it on a pillow. If you're that talented, let me know. Maybe it's a sticky note in your car. Decide the best spot to showcase your brand mission and commit to that. And write that spot down on your branding worksheet. And again, commit to doing that every single day. I made a little wallpaper design for my cell phone, and I pick up my phone a million times a day. So it's a constant reminder of what I'm living, how I'm living my brand out, and what I represent. The more you see it and say it to yourself, the easier it's going to be to communicate that to the people around you, whether it's on digital platforms or face-to-face. In a press release. Okay, so let's pause here and let's celebrate your brand and take a look at the authentic messaging that you're creating. This is going to help you grow your business And hopefully you'll be as happy as these people are right here with all of the content that you're pushing out there for the public to see. So congratulations. Okay, so now we'll move on to activity number 2. You have your brand identity and your mission. But now how do you share it to the world? If you're not sharing your message, then it's really not doing much for anyone other than yourself, which is important to do that for yourself, but you want the world to see it too. And I have to admit, it's not always easy. As a mom of 2 young boys and a partner to my husband, I'm a busy entrepreneur, as all of you are, and I'm probably a little too social for my own good. I'm pulled in all sorts of directions, and it's hard to be intentional about sharing your messaging. On your activity, your branding worksheet, start listing the channels that you're currently using to share your business information. And then also there should be a spot where you can include the channels that maybe you're not as familiar with, but you would be interested in learning how to use for the benefit of your business. There are so many ways to get your message out there, and it can be completely overwhelming. And I'm not an expert in social media marketing, so I can't offer too much strategic other than find a really good a resource that's really good at managing multiple digital platforms. And if you have the budget for it, hire them. And if you don't have the budget for it, just ask for some feedback, ask for some recommendations and advice. There are so many businesses and individuals who are experts in these areas, and they're willing to share their information with us. And now you can't use all of these different channels. So being strategic about which platforms to use is important for resource allocation and to preserve your sanity. For me, I started with finding out where my audience is and building on that. And at the end of this, I'll list some of the local marketing strategy firms that I've worked with who are great to work with as an entrepreneur, as a small business that we may not have the biggest budgets for marketing. So I'm happy to share that later for anyone who is interested. And you know, the last slide showed how many ways, so many channels to use. It can be overwhelming, but I try not to see it that way. I try to see it as opportunities to connect with potential audience members that I haven't been able to connect with before. And especially right now in the days of COVID, everything and everyone is online. And with your authentic messaging, you should feel confident showcasing your brand across as many platforms as you can take on. So your website, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, e-blasts, earned media pieces. Once you start getting out there with your authentic messaging and content, you'll probably notice a lot more audience members, increased sales activity, and some really positive activities for your business to grow. And I also wanted to point out, especially to this group, if you're not using LinkedIn, you're missing out. I have made so many connections with other business owners and potential clients specifically on LinkedIn. It's been a really good experience. So I highly recommend it to all of you here. Okay, so activity 3, we will start this activity on the branding guide. However, it's something that will be ongoing for forever, for as long as your business is in operation. I would recommend starting a branding journal, and that might sound a little kooky, but it allows you to document all the ways that people are responding to your brand and your messaging. As you're playing around with different ways to communicate with your to your target audience and to your consumers, taking note of how people are reacting to what you're saying can be really helpful to help you evolve your strategy going forward, and keeping track and looking back periodically over the evolution of your brand. It may uncover some some ways to address certain marketing issues that you may be having in the future. Something that you wrote down in the past may help spurn an idea of how to overcome that or to address it. So it's just a really fun, I find it very interesting to keep track of what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. Are people loving it? Are they hating it? What is that feedback? Okay, I kind of flew through that. Sorry, it's probably because I'm a little nervous, but I wanted to show this particular quote again because I truly believe that authenticity is the key ingredient to building trust with your audience. In my case, it's helping me grow my business and giving me the ability to work with some amazing people in our community and around the country. I'm helping businesses, brands, and individuals connect with their consumers and their clients. And I know I'm making a meaningful impact in people's lives. And again, sounds hokey, but I feel within my heart of hearts that I'm inspiring people with my authentic writing and content. So that was a lot in a short amount of time. So thank you, great job. I hope all of that made sense and you were able to process these really important questions. And other than these points, to kind of recap what we went over, I also wanted to remind you of one more thing. Always stay positive. You can be as opinionated and true to your beliefs as possible, but be nice about it. I found that the less I talk at someone on social platforms and the more I engage in healthy conversations, the more connections I make. And remember, part of my past includes politics, so that can be a highly toxic conversation. But while I've never weakened my beliefs or my convictions, which I have a lot of, I always find a way to deliver them so they can be received easier by others. You never know what someone's opinion is on a certain topic. And this is just a strong reminder that everything that you post, everything that you publish, every picture that you put up, it's going to stay there. And even on your personal social accounts, that can really impact your business's brand. So it's a really good idea to start this practice of implementing your authentic brand and making sure the content that you're sharing and what you're putting out there for people to see is consistent and it's what and how you want them to see you. And also one more thing, remember to give yourself grace. Messaging is very tricky and it's time consuming and it takes a lot of emotional and mental energy, and you're going to make mistakes here and there, but be flexible and be brave and be kind, not only to others, but to yourself. Okay, so I think that's all I have for now and would love to open this up for questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely. And great presentation, Elizabeth. I appreciate
that.
Good.
Okay.
So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box and I will read them, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask. So go right ahead. I know some have asked about seeing the slides later. We can send those out to everyone as well as with a YouTube link later with the entire presentation for those that want to go back through.
Elizabeth, I have a question. Am I frozen?
You're good.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit maybe about like best practices or what you do in differentiating between like your personal private social media accounts and your work social media accounts. Like how often do you plug one on the other, or, you know, do you use your personal social media accounts to highlight when you've got an event or a webinar or something like that? Or do you relegate that just to your, you know, to Prose Creative? How integrated are those, or should they be? And, you know, or how, you know, differentiated should they be?
That's a great question. And it's something that I'm still evolving how I feel about that. And I think it also depends on the platforms that you're using. And the reason I say that is with LinkedIn, I have my business, my Prose Creative account, and then I have my personal Elizabeth Prenger account. I try to share all of my business news on my business account, and then I share that out through my personal account. I have more connections through my personal account just because as an individual, I've been on LinkedIn a lot longer than my business has been on LinkedIn. And I do the same with Facebook as well. I try to post all of my business details, events, thoughts through Prose Creative, and then I share that out on my personal Facebook page. Now with Instagram, I've actually considered just logging out of my Prose Creative business account and only using Elizabeth Prenger Prose. It's just hard to manage two accounts on Instagram as just one person. And I think my posts get lost if I do them separately, Prose Creative and then Elizabeth Prenger Prose. So for that particular platform, I'm using my personal far more than my business. And I don't think my business account is doing a whole lot for business leads or branding. So, and for me as a writer, I think a lot of my personal content reflects a lot of my writing style. So I use my personal platforms to post personal things, but I'm also always mindful about calling out, like I get my creative inspiration from this, spending time with my family outside and on the water. And then I try to describe some of the feelings and what, the temperature, and being very descriptive and showcasing some of my writing abilities because I like doing that. And then it also showcases me as a writer as well. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. I try to integrate my stuff as much as possible because, like I mentioned in the presentation, I think consumers are really looking for people to work with, not necessarily products or services. Like our products and services are really important, but if the consumer doesn't see you as an individual and they don't have that trust and that, the rapport established, I think it can be detrimental to your business.
Any more questions? I'll say, Elizabeth, here at Startup Junkie, of course we have a brand, but we also have, established team values that we try to live by and apply to our work. And the thought, I guess, is that if we're applying those values to what we do, our work will, I guess, create, or the public will perceive the brand that we want to display by us applying those values to our work. So what would you say about, as far as like your values and like the values of a company, applying that to your brand and how that plays out?
So I think that's really smart. I think if you have a company or an organization that has multiple employees, I think having your employees representing the values of your company on a consistent basis shows that they value the company that they're working with. So I think that relates back to the consumer of like, oh, wow, Caleb really likes his job. He really likes his company. He really values his company. They must be doing something really good. So I can get behind that business. I think the more your employees can advocate for your business, that's going to be, I think, so much more valuable than buying social media ads. It's just a really good investment to share with your team. I hate to say talking points, but it kind of is talking points. Like our company loves you as an employee because this, and these are the values that we stand for as a company. And so we want to help you display those same values and share it out as you feel comfortable. Man, your employees are the best megaphone that you have.
Absolutely. Brandon has a question in the chat, and he said, what's the best strategy to launch a brand, and what's the best strategy to repair a brand?
Ooh. Oh gosh. So for me, I think I think being very honest on social media platforms about your intentions of starting a business and what you want to do for the community, and asking for feedback of what they want to see or how your service, your product can help them, could be some really valuable intel for launching your business, from developing your marketing pieces, what platforms you're on, what you want to highlight. For me, once I got this may sound kind of weird, but once I got my website looking the way that I wanted it to look, and the messaging on there was really tight and on just how I wanted it to look, I felt like it represented me really well. That's when I felt super, super confident in launching everything, launching my services, like just promotional word vomit all over the various platforms that I was on. It gave me the confidence to start a newsletter, to really build up the content that I'm planning out for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Facebook, and find a really good accountant as well. That's the consistent feedback I'm getting, or I was getting as I was starting my business, and really leaning on your mentors. I don't know how many conversations that I had with various members of the community that were just willing to brainstorm with me on, what do I need to be doing? What am I missing? You know, what kinds of services do I need to establish early on before I can really start bringing in new clients or bringing in new revenue? Startup Junkie being one. Consult with them for sure.
And John Cooper asked in the chat, he said you mentioned having a mentor, which you just touched on again. He wanted to know if you, or perhaps even others in the group or on the webinar, have a Napoleon Hill kind of mastermind group, or a group of mentors that you kind of lean on.
Is he asking who mine are?
Mm-hmm.
Probably. So I have a lot. Ed Nicholson is one. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Ed Nicholson, but he is just a wonderful thought leader on leadership, and he has a background in communication. So that's one reason that he's been so instrumental in me building all of my services. There is a woman named Allison Twiggs Dyer. She has the Twiggs Group. It's a marketing strategy firm. That's actually one of the firms that I would recommend looking into if you are needing some overarching marketing strategy for your business. She has just been very, very giving with her knowledge and her recommendations around marketing in particular. So whatever your business is, just find someone that has been through a lot of various experiences, and just ask them to share, like, what are some of the things that have really worked well for you, and what are some of the things that you were able to learn a lot from, but it was because it wasn't a success for your business. And again, I honestly lean on Startup Junkie. I think y'all have a great network of entrepreneurs and people that they started out as these like crazy ideas, and it was a one-person team, and now they're like ruling the world in whatever industry they're in. So it's really cool being in Northwest Arkansas, with Walmart here and all these, like, the vendor community being massive, but then there's this like really strong community of startups and entrepreneurs, and a phenomenal community for nonprofits. Like, there are just so many resources here, and so many people that are willing to share knowledge if you just ask.
Jonathan Lance asked, how long did it take you to get a consistent client base once you launched?
Well, I think because I've been in the community for so long, I had just naturally built up a really strong network of businesses across various industries. So it was pretty quick after, well, even when I was asking people like, should I do this? I don't know. I want to start this business. And from the conversations that I had with these people just to get feedback, they're like, I want to hire you. So when you're ready, when you start this, email me. You have all my information. Let's get some writing done. Help me with my blog. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm such a huge advocate for just going out and asking people for their advice, because you never know if they need your services or not if you don't ask. And asking them face to face in person is so much better than just sending out a post on Facebook. Although I do recommend that as well. But scheduling just one-on-one time with people to say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you have any advice? Do you have any leads? Asking someone for leads, like a very definite ask. Like, I love working for you. Do you know of any other people that might need these services as well? And would you mind making that connection? And again, if you ask, people are going to do it for the most part.
I asked, how would you go about developing a business's elevator pitch, and kind of, I guess, boiling down brand into an elevator pitch? He says he works in an industry where soliciting my services is essential, and it happens to be a fast, busy atmosphere, and getting the message across is a challenge. Should I acknowledge competition? How do I offer and clearly communicate a better service at a better price?
Yeah, so that brand mission statement needs to be something that you can include in an elevator pitch. The general audience member gives you 7 seconds to convey whatever you're trying to convey. So it's really hard to get your services down to a 7 to 10 second pitch. I would not bring up competition. In politics, that would be called like name recognition. We don't want to give name recognition to your competitors, your competition. So I would just stick to what your brand is doing and how your brand, like, be very clear what you're offering and how you can help your consumers. It's not necessarily what you're offering, but how your services or your product is going to make their lives better. And I would stay away from technical stuff. Like, if this is just an initial introduction, don't talk about the equipment that you use. Don't talk about the time frame that it takes to produce X, Y, and Z. The more technical you get, they're going to glaze over, and you're probably going to lose your chance to develop a relationship with them.
Bethany asked, any suggestions for how to connect your brand both to consumers purchasing a service, product from you, and vendors who pay you and promote their products without alienating either audience?
I would say try to be as transparent as you possibly can. I don't know if you would have to sign an NDA from the company side that you're working with. And I hope I'm understanding your question correctly, but providing that transparency to your consumer is in your best interest. And obviously you want to maintain a very strong relationship with the businesses that you're working with. But if you're losing your consumers' trust, then that's going to be really hard to get back. If you did some research around like influencer marketing comes to mind. If you're an influencer and you're getting paid by companies to promote their business, but you're utilizing the public to do that, you have to include like a hashtag ad or hashtag sponsorship. You have to be very transparent, or you can get in big trouble by the, is it the SEC or whatever the letters are. But I would use that kind of as a baseline for any kind of activities that you think might need more transparency than, you know, just your standard personal post on a social media platform. So take a look at the influencer marketing requirements, and that might give you some good insight onto how you address that.
Transparency is usually really good policy. Right. If there's no other questions, Elizabeth, I want to thank you for taking the time to present for us today. It's a great presentation. I want to thank everybody for joining us and participating, registering, and tuning in. But before we go, I wanted to make one final announcement about what we have upcoming in 2 weeks. And to make that announcement, I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague, Morgan, to tell us about Startup Week.
Thanks, Caleb. Well, actually, a couple of things. So first of all, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Wonderful reminders, encouragements, admonishment, challenges for all of us to think about as we think about our personal branding and our company's branding. So thank you. Also, really fast, we've got another Lunch and Learn coming up next Tuesday. That we can throw up a link in the chat. And so if you like having free lunch delivered to you while you learn about important strategies and insight for your business, then this is for you. It is called Her Entrepreneur Journey, and it's going to be led by Martha Londigan and cover the basics of beginning a business here in Northwest Arkansas and highlight some of the amazing resources with free delivered lunch. So check that out. And then 2 weeks from now, the week of September 14th through 18th, we're going to be hosting Startup Week. And so that's a week-long virtual showcase and celebration of various entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses in Northwest Arkansas. So it'll be available. You can view it on public television and all sorts of streaming services. And every night of the week, we're not just talking about and showing startups and entrepreneurs, but you also get to taste and see the small business successes here in Northwest Arkansas. So we're accompanying everything with food and drink. So Monday night, you get to do a watch party in a socially distanced location and get $20 worth of Tula or Cheers or Palomo's quesadillas. Tuesday night includes beer. Wednesday includes a wine and cheese and bread pairing from the Rock and Baker of Sweet Freedom Cheese, et cetera, et cetera. So we'd love for you to check out Startup Week. It's free to view anything and then to purchase tickets for the food and drink pairings each night. Those are $20 per night or $75 for the week. So it's a great deal and a great time where there's lots of discouraging news to see the encouraging and inspiring stories of our amazing and innovative Northwest Arkansas entrepreneurs. So we really hope you can join us. We've got some links up in the chat. And again, thank you for joining us today. And thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Bye, everybody.